Hey guys, Joey here. Welcome back to Droolish. Let's get to it. Hey guys, welcome back to Droolish episode 15. I'm your host, Joey Montano. If you're unfamiliar with Droolish is a show, a podcast that's focused on helping you sleep through relaxing sounds, background noises, and white noise ambiance, AMSR things, I suppose. Top that with my so-called soothing voice and my long-windedness, and you got yourself a recipe for long, boring, and sleep-inducing material. Or at least that's the idea behind the podcast. I'm not one to say that's going to be the case, but I'm here to help, and I'm here to try. Today's subject for discussion will be, I thought about talking more about Twitch and streaming in general. That's more of an avenue that I have had an interest in, but I get the sense that most of you probably don't know or don't care, and that is equally up my alley in providing you material that's not too interesting, but kind of interesting for some of you. So it's up to you if you want to listen, and you can just turn me down, my voice down, and listen to the background noise as it comes in. If you're not interested, generally the rain and other sounds that I throw in, they fade in since the initial start of the podcast. So I would say around like the 3 to 5 minute mark is when you'll really start hearing the background noise start taking over. Though you can always just not listen either. That's an option. So if you are interested in offering comments, tips, advice, feedback, anything for the podcast, or even discussions of topics, if you want me to discuss a certain thing and I can talk about it or read anything, throw me an email. droolishpodcast@gmail.com. You could reach me at Facebook and Twitter. You could just type in Droolish or Droolish Podcast and it should pop up. I try to be readily available, and I'm getting back to a master schedule. Now, I do feel like I have to say that I'm a little bit behind today. Yesterday was Tuesday, which is my normal first episode of the week recording, and I woke up a little bit late and had to deal with a few errands. So I'm recording both of my episodes today, which is a Wednesday, the 25th. So for those of you who are looking for NFL picks, that's usually going to be released Thursday's podcast. So expect that Thursday morning. And if you're listening to this one specifically on Wednesday, probably Wednesday around noon to the evening, then expect the NFL podcast tomorrow morning still. That said, let's, actually, I don't know. I mean, it's my podcast. I could talk about whatever I want. But seriously, I just wanted to thank you guys for listening and downloading the podcast. Honestly, to me, it blows my mind that every time I hop onto my podcast host provider, they have like these analytics, which is pretty cool, to see how many downloads and how many downloads per week I can get. And if some of you have your own podcast, you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't have a podcast, these are the numbers that we use, or I use, to tell people, hey, look, I'm doing things, or something along those lines. And since I've been doing the NFL picks, I've noticed every week my NFL picks tend to get more downloads than my other episodes, which is fine. I mean, because I'd like to talk about whatever. So I'm glad that some of the NFL picks, that seems to be getting more headway. As for the results of the NFL picks, that's more of the next episode's podcast, but I did not do extremely hot last week. So I'll dive more into that. And I'll dive more into more sports analytics and all that machine learning stuff in the other podcast episode. But this week did not bode well. Some good news though is that this podcast, is at 900 downloads, which it seems like every time I create a new episode, it's like another 50 to like 100 downloads these days, which is insane because it felt like last week I said it was 700, and now I'm at 900. And I even eclipsed August's download mark. I'm already at 300 downloads this month. Like, you guys are crazy. Like, super crazy. I don't think I even have any traction on Twitter. But, I mean, I use Twitter and Facebook if you want to keep in the loop. But if you ever are in the mood to listen to some white noise, it does rain a lot here in Michigan, and I like to record the sounds as well, and I'm recording my own rain sounds and fire sounds for this podcast exclusively because it's free for me to do that. I can just put on my phone and hit record and just hope the sound quality is top tier. And then, in compared to trying to find the copyright-free background noises, which is fine, but like I prefer to have different sounds. Like it could be the same sound, but like from a different place. I think that keeps the podcast more authentic, and I just don't want the background noises and everything else to sound so canned and generic. Which, it doesn't sound like it's a big deal to some of you, because like any rain works, or, any sound probably would work. But there's something about like the aesthetically pleasing, like say hearing like raindrops coming down from inside of a building, or say from like under a tree, or different different parts of like the yard or house, or different settings outdoors. So there's many different variations that I want to keep trying to throw those in, and I hope hopefully create that nice experience. Now, moving on to the subject at hand, today I really wanted to discuss more of, I would say, streaming tips that I've, let's call this top streaming / like internet entertainment tips. And I built a framework around what it takes to be a successful Twitch streamer, what it becomes a successful streamer in general, and have been testing a lot of YouTube as well to see what works and what doesn't. So if you guys don't know who I am, at least in the previous life or outside of the podcast, I used to, and I still do, consult with companies regarding their marketing and SEO. And I generally take more of a holistic approach for SEO, and especially these days in more of my marketing consulting, it's primarily driven off of data and case studies, experience, and just testing things that make a lot of sense. Testing elements that could drive a positive ROI. And that said, a lot of the hardcore marketing efforts is generally just focused on just giving a damn about those around you and offering value. And it's just showing the world the value that you bring, and that marketing aspect is the art of it, at least in my professional opinion. So while I worked on all that stuff with companies for both SEO, content management, all the other very saucy stuff that you guys would love to hear. I'm being sarcastic. It's super dry. It's not super dry, but it's whatever. But I wanted to use those skills and chops, I guess, and transfer that into a different industry, because I don't know about you guys, but the whole reason why I created this podcast is that it's an outlet for me to talk and chat and mainly think out loud, and hopefully think out loud in a coherent sense versus just me babbling nonstop. Not that there's anything wrong with it. If you listen to my earlier podcast, that's probably what it started out as for sure. Now, going back to the streaming, like say Twitter, like Twitch, YouTube streaming, the entertainment portion. I don't think anyone's really coined that term. Like, what is a YouTuber? What is a Twitch streamer? What is a Facebook streamer? There isn't really something that's coined because there's so many different platforms out there. So I'm coining it right here and now. I don't know if it's going to take off, but I'm coining it. If you are someone that is in the streaming space, you stream anywhere, on Twitter, Facebook, whatever, or if you create videos, or if you create YouTube content, I wouldn't say it's a content creator, because it still can imply, generally anything and everything outside of the internet. So I'd say, I don't know, call yourselves E-tainers. That's it. Not entertainers, just E-tainers. I would say I-tainers, but it reminds me of like iPhone. The E used to be like e-commerce, like electronics. Commerce, they're buying online. Why not E-tainment? It doesn't have to sound super fancy right off the bat, but it doesn't sound terrible. Like if you're an E-tainer, like for me, it just implies, you entertain people online for a living, and it's viably, it's viably profitable. So, E-tainers, that's what I'm calling you guys, and I'm going to try to do my best to actually get a lot of downloads this episode. Not that I shouldn't, but the last few episodes, it's pretty clear that I really don't care so much about the idea of the podcast. I was kind of nervous about the podcast itself, whether or not it'd be great or good or bad. And at this point, I'm already 15 episodes in, and I don't know, the downloads keep coming, and they're coming more frequently. So I gotta be doing something okay. I can't say it's right or wrong, but it's yielding positive results, at least in getting more downloads. Because to me, if more people are downloading it, I'm assuming I'm helping you guys. So until that's not the case, if you don't like it, you can tell me you don't like it. But if you still download it and tell me you don't like it, then you have to like it, or you're helping me out. I don't know, but it's a positive thing, at least if you ask me. So back to the streaming part element. So most of the E-tainers these days, there are a lot of people. I would say there are a tremendous amount of people that don't know what it takes to succeed, and those who have succeeded generally, like say whoever has managed to become famous and has been able to have a full-time salary, or has been able to support themselves as an E-tainer throughout the last, let's say, 8 years. 2011 is when Twitch came out, and I'm pretty sure YouTube wasn't as monetization heavy back then, so I'm going to say around 2011. So 2011 is probably between 2011 and 2014-15. If you played a game that was wildly popular, all you had to do was just exist. If you streamed. If you stream on Twitch, and if you're decent and long enough, you post some things online, you would just be famous. Like, people would know who you are, and you would build an audience, and the audience would just come to you. So the streaming market, streaming saturation back then was barely anything. Like, any early adopter, any leader that just showed up, does well, and it likely continues to do well. And if you had a certain gimmick, or if you just did anything, just like some of these kids literally just wanted to play a game and they were so good, and they happened to have a camera and they streamed it. That's all they did. So the effort to actually become quote unquote, Twitch famous, or an E-tainer, a viable E-tainer, was low. And that was fine. People were trying to find who, there were people in the communities, content they like. And throughout the last few years, it's become a little bit more saturated to where people are still interested in watching streamers, but with multiple different platforms outside of Twitch. You have DLive, you have Mixer, you have Caffeine, you have Facebook Watch, you have YouTube streams. Did I mention Twitch? So there is at least there are at least a good half dozen streaming platforms that people use to build their brand, to build their streaming. But the point I'm trying to drive at regarding this is that because there are so many platforms, the amount of attention that you need to have to build an audience, that audience isn't as readily available compared to years past. Years past, people were just looking for new content creators. They were looking for anything that was different, or at least different enough, and they became big fans of whoever. Or they would follow a certain game, and they would stick with their top favorite streamers because they built that emotional connection over those years. And a lot of these new streamers I noticed, especially if you have a Twitter account that follows a lot of these guys, They really are just focused on just, they just combine their quote-unquote forces with other creators, and they try to get more attention, which is fine. You have to put your name out there, but it's hardly recognized, and it blows my mind that no one really discusses the fact that there's only going to be a very few amount of people that will follow you or subscribe to you just by doing streaming alone, or just by doing one thing alone. Especially if you're trying to make money creating YouTube videos or trying to get donations on a stream. Putting yourself on a platform where there's only like 50 or 100 people that are browsing at a certain time, and you have to fight for your attention, and you're literally fighting for attention in real time. So if you're a streamer, and if you're wondering why you're not getting hundreds of followers or hundreds of concurrent viewers, even though you might have 1,000 followers, it's because the followers that you're getting, there are going to be the people that like smaller streams. They're going to be the people that like to talk to random strangers online, and they're less likely to be a fan of your work, but more of a fan of a small streamer. If that makes sense. So you are more or less, I can't say replaceable, because they might build real connections, but the amount of people that are doing that is not going to be paying for those. That's a harsh truth. At least that's a harsh truth that I have seen, have noticed, and you can talk to 95, maybe 99% of the streamers that have been occasionally streaming on their sides or have been trying to do videos. It's just, if you create content for yourself and you don't do the effort to get the eyeballs in front of you, and just, it's not going to work. And even more so, it's if you think you're going to be famous just by playing a game and then you'll be discovered. And this works for and this applies to both Twitch, all the streams, and all the YouTubes. Okay? So you just can't put out a video and don't tell people what you are, who you're about, or content that explains your personality or the value that you've given. If there's no value given, at the end of the day, no one's going to give two craps about what you have to do or what you have to say. Which is why, for me, I'll be very honest right now with you. This podcast is primarily for me to flesh out my thoughts and to share kind of some of my thoughts with the world. At the same time, knowing that most people probably either don't care, or they're probably with the assumption that my voice is just something that's background noise. And I'm perfectly fine with that, because I know my end goal and my end game here is to create a better experience for sleeping, help reduce insomnia, while at the same time kind of offering additional value in any way I can. Whether it's whatever I talk about, or maybe certain things that you could apply in the real world. I'm just trying to, I'm doing what I can to find a hook or something that's unique outside of something that currently exists. So if you wanted to apply that for a stream, for example, I could turn on a stream right now and play Fortnite for 50 hours straight. Okay, that's cool. But if I don't tell anyone what I'm doing when I hit the record button or hit the stream button, and just say playing Fortnite, okay, well, why would anyone watch me? Okay, I'm a terrible Fortnite player. On camera, yeah, if you saw me on camera, you probably Google me, I have LinkedIn and stuff too. I don't think I'm a terrible looking guy. I don't think I'm like Fabio either. But so in regards to like camera quality, my looks aren't going to bring in crowds. Okay, they're not going to take away crowds. They're not going to bring in crowds. Just an average dude. So what would my hook be if I'm playing Fortnite? Well, I'm terrible at the game. My look, I don't have like the look. My streaming setup, a lot of it's based off of production value. So if I don't have that, I'm just the guy with the camera, and if my sound quality is terrible, I might sound like I'm in a warehouse if I don't have the right mic. So, these are just 4 different elements that are pretty key in just creating a good streaming experience. And what most people don't seem to realize is that if you're streaming, you're entertaining people in real time. And I said this before, but I really want to drive home that fact. So you're entertaining people in real time. So just imagine that you're playing a game in an arena of like 2 people or 5 people, or 5,000 people. you have 20 followers or people that are watching you, just imagine everyone's hanging out in a big old living room and they're watching you play. And that's more or less it. Like, these people are saying, we're going to take our time to watch you. Now, put it in that frame of reference, you have to realize how incredibly tough it is to get someone to do an action that they've never done before. So if they've never been a fan of you, and someone doesn't even like Fortnite, and you're trying to convince these people to watch a game, they're going to say, no, I'm just going to watch Ninja. He's entertaining. He's got blue hair. He's one of the best at the game. And he's pretty good on camera. And he always has a great time. And if I miss him, he can be on YouTube. I know, he's got his whole brand thing going. So if you're starting out, you have to do a lot of the things that the bigger streamers and entertainers or E-tainers aren't doing. And for the example, if you're doing Fortnite, if you're going to do a 48-hour stream, because people do 24-hour streams, say do a 48-hour stream or do a 72-hour stream. You have to do something that's unique to get people talking about you, and then add a little twist. Make it be more selfless in this aspect. Understand that, hey, maybe if I do a 72-hour charity stream, and you really do need to put the money in charity, you can think about how it could benefit your brand long term. It doesn't have to be a zero-sum game to where you have to come out ahead with more followers, and it's going to be the cost of the donations that come in. That's not a good mindset to have. And I'd rather have you guys, if you're listening, focus on like the win-wins. What could you benefit out of both? Out of offering a value to certain people. Like, would it be a win-win if you did a Fortnite 72-hour stream for like St. Jude's, and then if you happen to know a couple, or reach out to a couple streamers who might be medium-sized, and be like, hey, do you want to collab in this, or do you think it'd be cool? And you'd be surprised how many people would say yes. And you might be able to tag someone in for 24 hours, and every 24 hours it's a different person, and you're just, working with them, for non-stop entertainment. That, for me, that benefits everyone. And this is just one idea I just came up off the top of my head. You could have a 72-hour stream, first 24 hours hang out with like one person that's, to talk a lot, or that's really good at gaming, that can kind of support your stream or you, and you can focus on your gameplay, you're getting good content out of it, they're coming with ideas. Second guy could do the same thing, but you'll have a different person to work off of. You can go back and forth to where there's not any dead space when you're talking. So these are the things that I generally think about when it comes to kind of ideas, especially in this this growing space in E-tainment. I don't think it's even been a decade since a lot of these people have been making serious livings. I know 2009, there were probably a few companies that bought out some top YouTubers for salary, and I think Smosh was one of them. So, but now it's pretty much like a free market in the Wild West. If you're going to, do something, you might as well do it yourself. And I think that's a good thing, and I think there might be some companies out there that will help accelerate growth. If you're a YouTuber or a Twitch, if you're an E-tainer, but it's ultimately trying to find like that talent or finding the right mix of a lot of things. So, to change the subject ever so slightly, I wanted to dive specifically more into either creating a good streaming brand or kind of a good, E-tainment brand, I should say. Because regardless of the platform that you're on, you're still going to have to build an audience. Now, the path to how you create that audience is just as key as, what to do when you get the audience and how to keep them. So, excuse me if I sound kind of getting off. I've been hiccuping for the last 30 seconds, but there are just two key aspects that I'll focus on right now: getting the eyeballs and keeping the eyeballs. Let's not overthink it. And to get the eyeballs, if you're streaming, if you're doing YouTube, first things first, no one's going to give a crap about your stream unless they know about your stream. So if I am a streamer and I wanted to let the world know, hey, I'm streaming, come watch me, what would you do? Would you post on your Facebook, your personal Facebook, and get some of your friends to join? Yeah, if they enjoy watching you and they want to hang out, that's cool. But if you're trying to grow into if you're trying to grow into an established brand and you want to do it full time, then just having your friends watch out and hang and shoot the shit with you, it's not going to bring on long-term value. It's going to be entertaining for them, and it's going to be entertaining probably for like the 5 to 10 other people that could be interested that are in your circle. But that's as far as your reach is going to go. It's that circle. So you have to take your show to the road. And if you're just on Twitch or YouTube and you're just typing in, you subject your videos as, hey, Fortnite, we're playing this with friends, and you don't do anything else. Well, that means people on Twitch or on your platform, they're still going to have to find you. And they might not know who you are, but they're going to be browsing games. They might even be typing in certain phrases that what would I say, that they're interested in at the moment. So their intent is quite high. So when you have users with high intent, that they're really wanting to join and watch, then that's going to be your best chance to get the streamer that's going to log on to your, on a certain platform, onto Twitch or onto YouTube, and start interacting. But the point I want to drive here is that there's only going to be very, 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 very few people that do that. They'll come in naturally, and if you're starting from scratch, it's going to be a lot harder. People like social proof. People want to join where the fun's at, and if they see that you are just playing a game by yourself, and they pop in and say hi with no other chat interaction, if you don't acknowledge them, if you just start cussing and start throwing like slurs to someone else because they destroyed you in Fortnite, that's not, like, most people aren't going to like that. Like, it sounds hilarious, like, it sounds hilarious in your head, and that's because it's hilarious if people are judging you specifically. Keep that in mind. So, and it's still terrible. So no one's really going to be watching, generic person X playing Fortnite that says racial slurs. That's like every 12-year-old in the world, okay? So you're not doing anything good. Because of that, most people just assume Twitch doesn't work, and it won't. And part of it is you need to have the eyeballs. Like I said, I mentioned just recording and streaming on a platform by itself. Hopefully people can naturally come in. That's going to take a long time. And then I mentioned too, keeping them. Like, you need to be entertaining. You need to be. There are so many different dynamic traits that you can have and use that it can. I'm trying to think of a good analogy, but I think Gary Vaynerchuk says it the best. Always focus on the strengths and bet on your strengths, and don't dwell on the weaknesses. And I've been back and forth with that particular mindset, especially marketing and everything else. I really have a hyper focus in focusing on my strengths, which if you notice with sports gambling and everything else that I'm going to be talking about, I'm really passionate about looking at the numbers, not just present and past, but I'd like to do a little more about the predictive analysis and more the data sciencey stuff on top of it, and build algorithms on top of all of that. So I'm on top of everything. Just put the cherry on top of that statement, the cherry on top of the other statement. Yeah, but going back to what Gary Vee said, bet on your strengths. That's actually the same concept of this podcast. My strength is my voice tends to be very soothing. It's very calm. It helps people fall asleep. That's a positive spin on a negative trait that some people might have deemed it as. Like if I'm in meetings and client meetings, I get the point across, but they're just not as entertained because of my voice, or they're not as with it. Despite what I say and the results that happen, it's who I am. So as opposed to trying to focus on fixing the weakness, which is pretty hard to do with the voice, why not spin it into something positive and try to add value? Again, that was the whole concept behind this. And if you are going to stream, if you're going to create videos, you have to understand, what are your strengths, what can you do, what can't you do, and if there are certain things that you can focus on and hyper-focus on. And when you tend to focus on one or two things and just tunnel vision the heck out of it, a lot of people start noticing that your growth in one particular area is going to be expedited tremendously. So I'm just going to pull up I have a lot of cue cards here, so if you don't mind me waiting and you can listen to some of the nice rain and fire noises in the background, I'll pull this up. I wrote about 1, 2, 3. We got more. So I write a lot on index cards. I'm pulling this up, and a lot of these index cards are usually notes and tips that I've learned, especially over the last few months. And I go back and review them once in a while too, because it's hard for me to, and I'm pretty sure it's hard for a lot of people in general, to remember what they said explicitly, say 2 months ago, or even like 6 hours ago. So I write a lot of my ideas and thoughts that I think are valuable, and then I can go back and if I can well, I'm stuttering, but if I'm able to speak to it the way I've intended to, then I think it's something that I should be teaching as long as the logic makes sense. And I don't want to say I know everything, because I clearly don't. I'm a world-class idiot. But there's certain aspects of like marketing and analytics, and even just kind of understanding a little bit how the world works. Just I just turned 34, so it's not like I'm a young buck. But in the same vein, I have learned to not waste a lot of time these days. And most of my efforts are based off of like minimizing wasted time, which I'm sure if a lot of you are older, assuming some of you are older, if you are, then that's going to be a very relevant statement, a very real and relevant statement for some of you. And if you're younger, and if you don't get that time is valuable and you're looking to get money, well, then I highly suggest you waste all your time trying to get as much money as you can before you realize that that money doesn't really matter as much as long as you're able to buy that time. Or if you just have that doesn't make any sense. Just use all your time now if you're young, and try to get as much money as you can to figure out what you want to do in the next few years, because that's when you can start figuring out, hey, like, do I want to be more creative, or do you? I don't know. You people are you. You know what your likes are, and if you don't know what your likes are, then discover the world, travel, do things, or even talk to people and figure out what could be your jam, and then run with it. Okay, so I got all of my streaming notes here. So, the first thing I want to mention is getting the eyeballs. And this is going to be a quick synopsis, because I could talk about this for like 10 hours. If you get me with the right person, I will talk forever. But in the meantime, I'm just going to use these 3 note cards because it's probably going to be lengthy. Getting the value. You want your Twitch or YouTubing, if you're a live streaming E-tainer, are you entertaining in real time? That's going to be the first thing you have to think to yourself. If you're entertaining in real time, that means you can promote your material on Twitch. You can promote your material on YouTube. You can promote your material anytime, any platform in real time. Okay. Part of that is the content creation, but part 2 of that is being on a platform where you have the most eyeballs. Facebook, Twitch, YouTube. Those are going to be the top 3 I recommend if you want to get the most eyeballs, at least the most eyeballs that are on those platforms that could find you. Okay, this has nothing to do with actual marketing. It's just putting yourself out in a distribution network to where people will naturally come to you. Okay, marketing does not imply people come to you. You have to tell them that you exist. Existing alone is not marketing. Sometimes you get lucky just existing, but that's so few and far in between. And I got some bad news for you. If you think you're that special dude, you're not. Okay? You're actually going to have to work for some of these things in life. Some of the things that you need to consider while you're on Twitch or on YouTube, and especially the content you create, is you have to ask yourself, are you entertaining to the right people in the right moment? And are you driving the right emotion that you're trying to get out of it? And are you providing that value? Okay, so most people, if you're streaming or E-tainer, your value is more or less going to be entertainment in some way, shape, or form. And I don't want to come in and say, oh yeah, you just got to be entertaining. It's so easy. No, that's not what they're. Entertaining is the end goal. How you get there, there's probably an infinite amount of paths that you can take. So, again, recommend stick on a big platform if you just want to give yourself a chance to be discovered. Not that you would or could, but you give yourself a chance. Now, in regards to having more eyeballs on those platforms, you have to figure out what your style is. So if you're a one-off streamer, if you're a streamer that just wants to go on and have fun and then this isn't for you. If you're someone that likes to stream one particular game, then you're going to have to figure out, a couple aspects. One, how many other people are watching this game or how many people are interested? One of those two. Okay. And you can look at that by, typing in Google, typing in YouTube, typing in Twitch, how many other people are playing, how many views have there been. The key of this is that you want to get your timing down pat. Because if you're going to play Fortnite now that we're a year and a half in after its release, the saturation of people wanting to find new Fortnite streamers or anything else is maxed out. Okay, so it's going to be tough unless you have like a certain unique trait, and even then it's going to be significantly harder because there's so much competition. Same can be said if you wanted to play a game that's lost popularity. If a game did lose a lot of popularity, maybe in streaming, that could be a signal that you should avoid it. Generally, if you're someone who likes to play the newest games or someone who's very interested in trying new games or different experiences, they generally go under the moniker of variety streaming. And variety streaming can be, you can play multiple games at any given time. You can do chatting with your fans, do more interactions. It pretty much doesn't pigeonhole you into a particular game. Now, when you go down that route, okay, if you're focused on being entertainment specific and focused on the newest games, you generally have to be baseline good at a couple of aspects here. And I'm only speaking strictly for eyeball entertainment. So, both eyeball and getting the eyeballs and keeping them. Because I'm actually speaking with both. Because if you're playing new games all the time, then you have to, and if you know which new games are going to be popular. So it could be a new Madden game. It could be a new game that's got a lot of hype and it releases. And it could be a new fun game where you play with other people. There are new games that are released every Tuesday. Any one of those. You could just take you can have a good idea of how popular it's going to be based off of the hype online. You can just Google it. And you can strictly just play all the new games, all the hype games. And if you happen to be good at some of these games, then you can start building an audience of people that like you for being good at any new game that you play. I don't know how big the audience is. There's going to be a lot of people that when a new game pops out, they're just going to they're going to want to watch anyone that plays the game because they might not be able to play the game and they want to see the experience. So generally, if you're good at a game, especially new games, without much experience, you're likely going to be finding people that will want to watch your streams, primarily either for that game, and that's your job, ultimately, is to make sure they keep watching you. So I guess one of the strategies for the eyeballs outside of traditional marketing is just play the new games where the audience is going. If you plan where the audience is going to be, just show up there first, or be one of those that show up first, because day one of a new game, you might have 50 people you're competing with. Day two of a game, it can go down to 10, because maybe they didn't like the game. Day three, it could be 500 people that are competing. I don't know, maybe because something went viral. You don't know. So you want to give yourself the best shot at getting the most eyeballs there on a platform. That's not to say it's a foolproof strategy. It's still a shot in the dark, but you're giving yourself a bigger opportunity to get more eyeballs playing the latest Madden versus, say, Tiger Woods 04 from a game 15 years ago. Other marketing strategies you can do to get people to notice your streams, and this is all, getting eyeballs to your stream or to your channel. We create content on different platforms such as Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat. You can show game highlights. You can show stream highlights. You can show your rants. You can show your fails. You can show your chat interactions. Any funny moment that's been clipped, save it and edit it, and then throw it on Twitter with a funny caption. Post it on Reddit. Post all of your fails on Reddit. Create a new subreddit that's all about whatever the heck you want. Okay, you could write for Medium about the progress of your channel. Heck, you could even create a podcast and then distribute it among the audioverse. And these are all ways for people to best see you at your best. And that's what people want. People want to see other people having fun. They want to have a blast. No one wants to turn on the TV and just look at sad stuff all the time. Like, no one wants to watch puppies drowning all day. Like, that's terrible. Or no one wants to see people just get not just like getting rage, but like, I don't know. It's just anyone can get angry. Anyone can just do. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm getting at this point. I tend to pause some of these and then I try to recollect my thoughts. Not this time. So, moving on to talk about streaming, keeping the eyeballs on, because once you get the eyeballs to your stream, like if someone were to give you 1,000 concurrent viewers, which is people that are literally watching you at this moment, 1,000. Let's even cut it down to 500. Like, even if you have like a couple hundred, you could pretty much make a living. But let's just say 500. If you have 500 people watching your streams and they're 500 people watching your stream right now, what are you going to do to keep them all entertained for your whole stream? See, I think most people don't realize that's what they need to do to get those people. If you start just acting like your stream should have 500 people, you start reverse engineering what those 500 people streams look like. What do they offer in terms of visuals? What terms of gameplay, interactions? What about anticipation of something new? The value that they provide, the overall persona, I should say. Trends, timing. How much hype do they bring? Have you seen them everywhere else? Okay, these are like 9 or 10 things I just laid out in about 30 seconds. And these are all the little factors that, you can learn or even just take notes from other streamers and figure out, oh, okay, does this work for me? This person plays these games at certain dates. You don't have to copy those dates, but it turns out, oh, maybe they do scheduling and they practice this, X, Y, Z. Okay, well then, maybe I should focus on that. Focus on a schedule. You don't have to. The idea is you came out of what you saw is like an actionable plan versus just mimicking exactly what that person's doing. So, like I said, these are the certain things that I would pay attention to if I were streaming, and then I can go back in the drawing room or the drawing board, and in my next stream I can think, okay. If I'm a streamer that can get 500 viewers, like what is the right formula, quote unquote? And there's no magic formula, but it's just having the right mix of elements that you can bring to the table that should drive the traffic. Okay, so I'm going to go down this list briefly, and I mentioned it, like I said, a minute ago, but consider these items as factors into growth of your stream and keeping the eyeballs there, and then using, I don't know, just seeing how, to show you the value that you can bring for your streamers. So, number one, visuals. Now, when I say visuals, I mean the whole stream production value. Okay, so the production value is almost paramount if you have no other thing going for you. Okay, so having a top-tier camera, having a top-tier or mid-tier computer that lets you stream like 1080p, having the top, HD quality content, video content all the time. You have the production value of overlays. So if you wanted to do transitions, you would already know which cameras to switch. You would have lighting, so people can better see your face. And especially in this day and age, it's hard for you to succeed if you don't have a camera. Not to say it's impossible, but generally how it goes in like all the famous Twitch streamers, Twitter streamers, all the ones that have gained their audiences through not showing their face, that was done multiple years ago. And if there are examples of people who strictly became a top streamer in the last year, strictly through not showing their face and even having no audio, let me know, because I would love to interview that guy. Maybe not for this podcast, but that would be a dang good trait. Like, that would be a dang good interview, because all of these elements I'm telling you, visuals, depending on which one you have, certain traits might actually transcend all the other negatives you have, and you could be known as like that one hyper awesome thing, and do pretty well and actually make a living off of it. So a lot of this is like a give and take. So visuals, you definitely, have to have some sort of visuals between production values, the overlays, the transitions. I've seen some people have countdowns for when their stream starts, and then they have a little entry and exit when they leave, like outro. They'll throw video clips, highlights before they start or when they exit, just so people can understand, hey, this stream is more of a entertaining show. It's more of an entertainment value versus just some guy you're talking to back and forth. It's a big difference in how people perceive you. It's a big difference in how your audience will take you seriously, and overall, I think it looks good. So just make sure your visuals are there. Okay, and if not, okay, and visuals, if I had to rate the importance 1 out of 10, I put that as like a 7 at a bare minimum. If you're starting out, just having anything is great, but as you get bigger, you want to enhance that quality. Second thing is gameplay. Now, most people, at least the streamers that I've been following and whatnot, it's a mix of people who like to talk, who generally do creative stuff, that tend to do variety gaming and just chatting. So gameplay won't matter as much. However, if you wanted to build a long-term audience that's focused around your gameplay or just trying new games, gameplay is probably a 8 to 10 out of 10 like importance. And if you are a 10 out of 10 gameplay and you happen to be playing a game that's fairly popular, then the likelihood that you will get discovered is a lot greater than someone who is terrible at the game, because the value that you're bringing is just entertainment of being damn good at something that people cannot be. And that's the reason why people watch the pros, why people watch professional football, why people watch anyone that's better than them in anything. It's because they can't do it themselves, and they know these professionals can do it better for them, and they're entertaining. That's how it is at the end of the day. So if you were a top 2 or top 3 Fortnite player, you need to be going to all the tournaments. You need to be winning. You need to be showing people, hey, I'm good. And then when you stream, you can stream all of your top plays, your top elements, all of your accolades. That's literally what Ninja did. Okay, Ninja happens to have a lot of these factors ingrained into him, like that I'm talking about. But in the same vein, like, if you're super top level hyper in gameplay and you're always consistent on top and everything else, then people are going to know you as just being phenomenal. And it doesn't have to be in a particular game. It can be in a particular genre. So it could be a Fortnite game, and then it could be a Counter-Strike game. It could be a lot of these different types of games. Some people I know make a living off of playing those choose your own adventure games, like The Walking Dead. There's so many different types of games out there, and the style of gameplay is just dependent on the person. That's to say, like, if your gameplay is terrible, that doesn't mean people aren't going to watch you, because you can do many different things that are terrible. You can always try new different gimmicks. You can try new ideas, new plans, new designs. Like, I always say Fortnite, but if you wanted to do crazy plays off of Fortnite and do a fails compilation, that's something you can do. It's all fails. No one does fails. Everyone wants to do the cool stuff. There's something you do fails. That's something you can learn and try to do. Another key portion of this I have is interaction. Interaction is key if you're starting out in streaming, and especially if you're going to be a just chatting streamer, or if you're going to do more interacting with the audience. where the gameplay is less important, then interaction is like paramount. You need to be talking to the chat. Okay, if your gameplay is not world class, then you need to find a different way to keep these people entertained, and interaction is going to be key. Now, there are certain levels of interacting and entertainment that you can provide, but a vast majority of the time, just having the interesting interacting and entertainment value, it should be enough to keep an audience and potentially grow an audience. And again, pair that with playing a new game, or playing, if that's your style, or playing that with a new type of experience where the eyeballs are trending, or eyeballs are starting to look in your direction, the game that you're playing or what you're doing. That's going to give you the best chance of getting discovered and getting more people follow you and like you and stay with you. I have the anticipation of something new, and I put this as a star. And I star this one because this is what I call an X factor trait. This is if you're playing a game and something unexpected happens. And it could be a quote-unquote unexpected thing, like it could be fake, although I don't really like faking that stuff. But trying new plays, new gimmicks, let's continue off my last point, but if you're trying a lot of new things, or you're doing things that no one's ever seen, like if you're doing comparisons that no one else has ever talked about and it sounds interesting, then go ahead and do it. People like to see new things. Okay? If they want to see the same old, they're probably going to stick with their same old streamers. You're going to have to break through the mold, so you're going to have to do something new. You're going to have to do something unique. And I wish I could give more examples, but I'm starting to lose a lot of traction here. Like my long-windedness is starting to go down, or I don't know, my mind's starting to go all over the place. So I'm going to try to keep this here, this idea, this stream thing going. The value. And again, I always say value because it can literally talk about anything. If your value is talking about trends in marketing, if it's talking about sports picks, if it's talking about even just doing tips on streaming, and there are legitimate careers now. You could be a stream coach. I think that pays viable money. You just go in and you tell people, hey, here's what you're doing wrong. Here are the stats, and you can fix these things and improve your stream experience and get more followers, or more fans and more subs. But the value you have to bring some sort of value at the end of the day, and it has to be a net plus value. Okay, so if you're streaming and you're cussing and you're berating people, and you don't even have an audience, when have someone new that comes in, then the experience that you're creating is all negative. No one's going to want to watch anyone complaining about them losing nonstop, and if it's not funny. If you lose and you do it funny and you make noises and you overreact, and it's not meant to be taken seriously, and I'm giving you one example. There's some value in that, but when it comes from like a very mean-spirited place, or it just it doesn't sound, you sound like a complete jerk. Most people are actually going to be turned off by that, and it blows my mind how so many people just don't understand that. It just blows my mind. I'm not going to fault some streamers for saying things wrong, because if you have a microphone on you all the time, if you're gaming all the time, you're going to say something you probably didn't mean to, or you're going to word flub, or you're going to say something that is interpreted wrong, or you just might have a bad day. So, people are generally will leave leeway regardless, but it's still not a good look, and it doesn't help you long term. But if you're able to provide that value, again, people are going to want to listen to what you have to say. Now, I have these other three traits here. And these ones, I would call them X factor traits. Gameplay is an X factor trait, because you can probably carry yourself to fame just through gameplay alone. So any one of these I call X factor traits are traits that can overcome any negatives that I've already mentioned, or things that you're lacking, all the things that I'm mentioning here. Persona. So personality, or even have a unique persona or a defined character, could catapult your stream to new heights, or even heights that you never even seen. Well, I guess it's new. But yeah, it could catapult your stream quality. Having a top your persona and character, and the first thing that pops in my mind was Dr. Disrespect. You know, he had a clear-cut persona, like a macho 80s style action hero. Top that with insane visuals, production values. Okay, the production values was the icing on the cake, but he had those two major traits right off of the gate. And when you have a unique persona, or you're able to show your personality in a way that shows your best self, that gets people involved, and you do that, you can do that through your gameplay. You know, like I mentioned, if you play FPS games and you die, you can find out a way to do hilarious reactions, or you can think about great interactions you can have when you're chatting with people. There's so many different ways that you can show your personality while you play that it makes up for, you know, the lack of gameplay, or the lack of gameplay quality in this case. Another one I have here is trends, and this goes back to the first thing I mentioned, with playing the right game, and likely at the right time in front of the right audience. So if you are someone with a strong personality, and it shows, and you like to play multiple games, okay, if you already have that one high persona trait, and then you throw in a popular game at the time, and you're happy to get some eyeballs, you know, people, like, those are the people that share clips. Those are the people that interact the most, because these people want the newest thing. They want to react. They want to have fun. You know, they want to be a part of whatever experience you're trying to get. So, playing the right game with the right persona, and I mentioned Dr. Disrespect earlier, but he nailed both of these. Aside of his character, his trends, he plays all the most popular games. He played like the zombie game, H1Z1, before he legit blew up. And then when PUBG came out, that's when he exploded on the scene. Even though he's been doing it for years, he exploded with PUBG because that game became really, really, really popular. And he also, I don't have it mentioned here, but he also played games with other top streamers. I think that kind of went through the whole FPS thing over the last couple of years. So both Dr. Disrespect and Shrouds and all the other like first-person shooter people, they were all really good, but they all kind of became famous through their own methods. You know, in Shroud, he was I think he was a CSGO player, professional, and most of his fame, not most, but like most of his fame did come from winning tournaments at his professional team. So every time he would win one or place, he would stream and he would get more followers, and then people would say, "Oh, he's really good at this game too," you know. And he never really loses streamers. As his persona, you know, I don't know. I don't like judging personalities like that. I would like to give scores. You know, what's their potential? But you know, I don't know. He's not a super high energy guy, Shroud. He's just kind of funny, and he makes me laugh at times. So he's got good gameplay. He's got world class gameplay. You know, that's his thing. Yeah, but going back to the trends, it's all about that. Trends and timing. Timing is key too, especially as you're growing, because if you're playing the right game at the right time, and you know what the trends are, like if you know like this game, if you know XYZ game's coming up and it's going to be a hit, you know, and you know celebrities and like even internet celebrities are going to be playing it, like you might want to do that. You might want to hop on that game. You might want to do your best to show off your personality. You might want to do your best to play, I don't know, offer information for these people. And on top of that, you know, these are all just getting people to stay on your stream. But if you're able to culminate the value of your on-screen personality, then all you need to do is save all of your content. Just save it all. Save all of your content. Highlight the best material. And it can be an interaction you have with someone. It could be a 3-minute chat or a rant that you've had. And throw it on YouTube. Throw it on Instagram. Okay? Because the most, I don't know, not to say viral, but the most growth that I've seen with a lot of these streamers is that they've done a lot of these things. Like they've created a persona. They've played the best games. They've gotten pretty good. They've interacted. And some of these people have won tournaments. You know, they've been on TV sometimes. The key for their growth, though, is that eventually one or two things have happened to where they went viral. That one clip or one clip or one fail or one success that they've had on stream. People end up sharing that stuff, especially if you build up a big audience. And Ninja, all he did was he posted all of his material on YouTube. And, after he streamed with Drake or something like that. Or was it Drake? Yeah, he played Fortnite with Drake. And that was his viral moment when Drake and Ninja brought in like 500,000 people on his stream, and then Ninja never looked back. He just kept getting better. He kept creating more content that was different. He kept bringing in different celebs, and he would think of different gimmicks or different ways to like end games, and he would just throw anything and everything out on his YouTube channel. And he exploded. And I'm not going to say it's going to work for you, but throwing all of your best stuff, and not the whole stream. Don't throw an 8-hour stream, because no one's going to watch an 8-hour stream on YouTube. Okay, understand how people operate each platform. That's my key. Okay, so my key point I want to drive, and I don't think I have it here too, but this is going to be my last point. And I know I probably don't think I even threw in many points with my little rant, but that's why I my little Stream Elements index card that I have. But be sure to match your intent with the platform that you're going to be on. Okay. So a few tips. If you're on Twitter, if you're thinking you're funny, throw out a bunch of text tweets and see how people react. Okay, you need to interact with people in your community. Okay, so find other people who are streaming, probably medium-sized streamers, and see what they're about. Okay, I would look at their content and see which content is the best, that gets the most likes. Some people just might have likes because they're Twitter famous, but that's not relevant to their stream. So I generally like to look at, if someone's streaming and they post a lot of content, like video content, and they get a lot of retweets and likes, I'll then check out their stream and see if they actually have as many followers as what they say they are, too. Because some people might have tens of thousands of followers, but they only get like 20 people watching on a stream. And if you look at their Twitter feed is just kind of, it's whatever, it's not anything special, but if you're hopping on Twitter, you have a certain intent, which is to read, browse, scroll, and maybe comment once in a while. Very rare that I go on Twitter and I'm like, oh, I need to watch the streamer because they posted XYZ. They posted them, dancing, making a meme of themselves on Twitter, and all of their streamer friends liked it. Cool. Okay, that stuff doesn't get me to watch people, and I'm only speaking for myself here. But depending on the intent of Twitter, it's like Twitter's not meant to be. You're not supposed to leave Twitter. That's the intent of Twitter. So kind of promoting yourself there it will supposedly help build your brand, which I'm not against, but it has to be done right. So Twitter videos, clips, the occasional, actually interacting with other streamers too in comments is probably a good one on top of it. And that's as far as I'm going to take Twitter, because Twitter is like another hour-long conversation. I don't want to deal with that right now. For Twitch or YouTube, just get to the point when you're naming your videos. Just say Fortnite, testing this, giveaway, or new streamer. Just say who you are or what you want to get out of the chat. Just throw it out there in the title. All that's in real time, so I'm not going to dive too much into the marketing aspect because you're doing the creation, so you don't need to be marketing while you create. Instagram. I have not tested Instagram for this one, but I would get the strong sense that it's going to be strictly all clips, all videos, and all photos. Like, do all the cool stuff that you want to do and come up with a cool story. And just like as many people in your space. I don't know. Instagram seems like it could be fairly simple. Just show good photos and good content. And I always like all the stuff I see on Instagram. It's way better than I see on Facebook. Facebook's more about complaining and just, I don't know. It feels more official at Facebook versus Instagram. Facebook, I'm not going to dive into that because that's its own beast. You have to build your own group and audience combined, and honestly, all your Facebook growth would be relative to all of the work you've done outside of Facebook if you want to grow organically. YouTube. Okay, what's YouTube? So YouTube specifically for videos. Your platform for YouTube. If you wanted to focus on videos to get people to your stream, I find that to be a very powerful method. Is that I would download a vidIQ, which is VIDIQ. They have a bookmark, Chrome extension, and a web application too. You download that and sign in, and I believe you get the first 14 days free to where you can type in the title of your videos, and there's a lot of documentation that will show you how to find the most trending topics and the best keywords to use and what to include in your description and how to offer the right value. So when you let's just say you created a potential viral clip of, say, you playing Fortnite and there's a house fire. Okay. And then on YouTube, you probably just want to label it, Fortnite player causes house fire. Nothing more, nothing less. You label it a fail. If it happens and you record it, that's content you created. And it might not be content you're going to be super proud of. But this is a real stream. That's the whole idea of the stream, is that you want to show the video of what happened in real time back then. Again, which is all about real time entertainment. YouTube's about entertainment on my own time, which means if I want to watch something funny, I'll just type something in. I'll just say, let's look at funny stream clips or stream clip fails. And even better, if you know a bunch of bigger YouTubers that have gameplay, then they submit the top highlights from other streamers or whatever. Submit your stuff. You'll get your name shouted out, and people are going to follow you. Okay? You just need to create as much material and distribute it on other people's content networks. It's the Lil Wayne strategy. I think when he went out of jail, he just teamed up with every single artist, and he was in 400 different 400 different songs in a year. He did work with everyone else until he got super good, and then he just released his own stuff, and it worked out super well. I mean, that's literally what you have to do. Is that he provided value to every single artist individually by teaming up and working with them. And most people, I believe, are open to collabs. And I mean, I would be open to a collab. Outside of this Droolish episode, because this is except having a second person who would kind of be whatever. But any other podcast, I don't mind collabing. I don't mind being a co-host. It adds a different perspective. It adds a different dynamic that you have prior. And I generally like that because it brings something new. And I'm probably only speaking for myself because I'm someone who doesn't really like the same old, not after a while. It's very rare that I even go back and rewatch TV series, although I'm doing that a little bit more. But, I like to watch it, experience it, and then never reflect upon it in my own time, but just never worry about it again. Let things enjoy things for what they are. And that's tends to be the mindset that I'd like to have. But that's it, guys. I mean, I could go on, and I know I felt like I've been rambling for an hour, and I have been. But that's fine. If you are very, if you're intrigued to talk more or listen to more about streaming stuff, I'll be more than happy to talk. I love talking about this stuff. I do help some streamers on the side, help with some of YouTube and marketing stuff as well. I'm not a stream coach, not to say I can't be one. You never know. But I don't know. I think all this stuff, I know it sounds pretty generic, and I wish I had a video, but I think all this stuff is just it's good material to have and keep in the back of your mind, something to think about. And hopefully there are going to be a couple launching off links that I'll give you too. You can either send me a message about streaming to this podcast at gmail.com, or there are two other stream coaches, or two stream coaches I should say, other than Bryce. I'm actually one, but not. But there are two stream coaches I really respect. One goes by the name of Ashley First, which is it's ASHNICHRIST. And she's got her own YouTube channel and talks about like streaming tips. She's got hundreds of videos, top tier quality. The other one I think is Calvin Heller. Calvin, I forgot the name. I don't have it pulled up. So we'll stick with Ashley. I'm not gonna pull the other guy's name. I'm not. As you can tell, I'm spent on this one. I have my mind thinking about the NFL games, so I'm gonna let you go because I'm super excited to talk about that. And you guys enjoy. Take care and dream easy.